Well, I'm sorry it's taken a while to make this next video. Sometimes I just get kind of stumped, and I really need to meditate on the scripture for a while to just to see what God says to me and what I can say to you. And so with these verses where it's all about Isaac and wells and water, and we've said before that water is symbolic of the presence of God. Like David said, as the deer pants for streams of water, so my soul thirsts for you, O God. And Jesus even told us that out of us would flow rivers of living water. And even in heaven, the picture is that there will be the tree of life and a stream running underneath it. So water is just symbolic of the presence of God. And Isaac and his servants did not give up in digging a well so that they could feed them, water themselves and water their flocks. And we just need to have that same passion for the presence of God, don't we? I think so many people just give up. It's like you're so content with so little, and you're okay with your soul being dehydrated and eventually dying, which I believe is a great picture of depression. It's just a thirsty soul that is dehydrated and approaching death, right? You don't want that. I heard a TED talk on depression. He was saying the opposite of depression is not happiness. The opposite of depression is vitality. And so just imagine that it's when your soul is watered with the presence of God that we get primarily through other people, right? Even the Bible was written through other people. And I'm not imagining someone as a hermit living alone in the presence of God. That is near impossible. The presence of God is found through people. That's how God wanted to flow to us through other people, and he wants to flow through us. So anyway, so this story starts out in verse, I believe, 15 in chapter 26 of Genesis, that the wells that Abraham dug, the Philistine had filled them up. And that's just a great picture that every generation, the theology, the truth of God that our previous generation discovered, demons are always trying to fill those wells. They're trying to get rid of the presence of God. They're trying to convince us to not take Genesis literally. They're trying to convince us that truth doesn't matter and that sexual immorality is okay. Like there's a movement now to say that homosexuality is okay. Homosexuality is just as bad as gossip. We need to say gossip is wrong. We need to say homosexuality is wrong. So many people for so long try to tell us that there's not a literal 1,000-year reign of Christ. There will be, and there's excitement in that. Take Revelation literally, like you should take Genesis. So there's always attack on theology, and we need to always be digging up those wells or moving on to dig new wells. We need to make sure that in our generation we keep the presence of God, we keep truth. But also in your life, you just need to realize that personally, you need to continually look for a group of people where the presence of God is. Movement is okay. I've belonged to so many churches and I've loved them and they've been good for me, but there's been movement. Sometimes, just like these wells, he named one contention, he named one strife, and or hatred or anger. And you're going to feel that as you move through your Christian walk, that groups of people that you thought you could trust, maybe you couldn't, or maybe it wasn't good for you. But don't stop belonging to a group of people. You don't have to go to a physical church building. You can have church in your home. You can belong to small groups, but you got to do something. You can't just die, right? You can't just study on your own, or for some people it is that you don't study, right? So here's the two things really. You need to be continually seeking God by reading his word, listening to sermons, studying on your own, and studying with a group of people. Those are your wells. That is how God's presence can hydrate you, hydrate your soul, which is the opposite of depression, which is the opposite of death. And so you need to feel the presence of God through your time with him, sermons, and time with other Christians, okay? So just as Isaac and his servants just kept going, kept digging for wells for themselves and those around them, for the flock around them, you need to do the same thing. And you need to realize that all of us have a flock. Everyone around you, we are simultaneously God's sheep, his part of his flock, but we're also like many shepherds where the people around us need us to be able to minister to them. We're all ministers. I hate that, you just think of a pastor as a shepherd. We're all shepherds. We all have people. I've been ministered to greatly by people who didn't have a pastor role. They just loved God, they were close to God, and the presence of God flowed from them to me, and it was awesome.